individualized home or?
Our goal is we're working with other agencies that do housing, and we're trying to get. I'm working with a couple landlords. We're trying to get people in, but about 50% of the people here are on Social Security disability. That's only $750 a month. If you guys can find me a place that they'll rent to somebody with $750 a month, please let me know. We'll fill it up. I'll move everybody out of here. But that's our goal. But in reality, we set a high standard. We wanted to house 50% of the people into permanent housing. Now that we're at it and trying, I don't know whether that's possible. And that's another statistic that I'll use for ammo with the city on why there needs to be housing and urban development HUD back in the 80s, 70s, early 90s. They actually built low-income housing. But then in 91, when Cisneros became the Secretary of HUD, their first act was they destroyed 25,000 units of housing in one day. Philadelphia, they took down all the high-rises. New York, they took down all the high-rises. Washington, D.C., they took the high-rises. Philadelphia, they took the high-rises, all in one day. But you'd think housing and development, that means to build housing, right? Not anymore. They don't do it. What they do is they just have the Section 8 voucher. That's all HUD does now. They don't build housing. And when I remember fighting that fight with Cisneros, because at that time I was a lobbyist on Capitol Hill for the National Coalition for the Homeless. And I remember telling him, if you're going to take down 25,000 units of housing, please build 25,000 units of whatever before you do that. He's like, well, we're going to work on building it. And they dropped them. And the ratio for replacement was for every 100 they destroyed, they only built one. So that left 99 people out on the street. And then they're like, I don't understand why homelessness is growing so much. Well, you just created it. And then they considered that a success. So then the next year they took down 25,000 more units. And now all across the country, you find no more high-rise, low-income housing because in honesty, it doesn't work. Scattered site housing works better. But before you destroy people's homes, you need to replace it. And like the Eleanor Roosevelt, the Eleanor Apartments over here, it was great. I was so happy. But before they even got one shovel of dirt moved, there was already a waiting list to get in there. So I keep saying, if you say there's 815 people homeless, we need 815 units of housing built now, not set aside 5% for poor people or 1% or 10%. Set 100% aside and make it 30% of your income. And the only way that's going to work is if the city invests in it and builds it, because you can't expect a private developer to come in here and put all the upfront money in and not get anything back. And that's how we'd like to see more nonprofit housing. Our long-term goal with Homes Now, we want to get big enough that we can actually start building apartment buildings. But we don't want to build. We want to be environmental. We want to rehab. There's lots of vacant boarded up housing in this town. Let us have it. We'll go in there and rehab it. If it's not rehabable, we'll knock it down and we'll build a tiny home village on it, or we'll raise money and build permanent housing. But, the one thing I say, Billingham spends $4.9 million a year, and Whatcom County spends $4.5 million a year. That's $9 million a year on homelessness, a year. This whole camp cost us $11,000 for 3 months. And we housed, I don't call this housing, but we made people safe and secure, and they know where they're going to sleep tonight and eat and everything for $11,000 for, right now we're at about 20 people. So it's how you spend your money. I always say, I don't care. You can throw $20 million at the problem. You can throw $100 million. You can throw billions of dollars at the problem. But if you're not doing it right, you're just throwing money away.
I have a question for you, Jim, about the design philosophy behind the tents. You created created this to be modular?
No. That's because we knew we were going to move. So when our permit runs up, what we'll do is we'll run a flatbed. We'll run a flatbed and we'll load everything up onto the flatbed and move it to the next site, and then just set it back down, and we can set up a lot quicker. So that's our plan.
So you don't think you'll be able to get another 3-month permit to stay?
No,
here?
we've already been told by the city, because the city employee vehicles used to park here. Now they have to walk 2 blocks. God forbid that, right? They got to walk 2 blocks. So they want their parking lot back no later than April 15th. So that's our deadline here. We knew that going into this. Under their ordinance, they could extend it another 90 days, but at this location they can't, because they'd have to walk, and they wouldn't like that. They already don't like us. So.
Are you going to have to go through a series of 90-day permits, or will you eventually be able to get something a little more
Well,
permanent?
if we go to tiny homes, that's a year permit, and then with 1 extension. Where with the county is a year permit with unlimited extensions. So we got a couple of council members we're working with to try to amend their ordinance so tiny homes can be 1 year with unlimited extensions. And we're trying to get tent cities 90 days with unlimited also. If it's working and we're not disrupting the neighborhood, then why not let us stay,
Yeah.
So yeah, because moving, it also will upset the dynamics of the camp, because everybody's comfortable here. So when we move, even the people living here now, it's going to make them uncomfortable, because they're going to have to get used to another location. So yeah, that's our goal. But with tent cities, we're probably at the most will ever be a year in one spot. They'll move in a year. But our goal is, with our next proposal, is go to 30 tents and then start replacing them with tiny homes. Like, we can build a tiny home a week. So in 30 weeks, there'd be no tents, it'd all be tiny homes.
Oh, awesome.
That's our goal. And our goal this summer is to build 4 tiny home villages of 20 tiny homes apiece. One for working people and disabled people, one for vets, and one for women, and one for families. So that's our goal.
What is the biggest success of New Haven so far?
The biggest success of Winter Haven
Oh, yeah.
is we've had no police calls. We've had no violence. Watching people come in here depressed and out of hope, now smiling and laughing. I posted a couple videos today of we had music out here and people were dancing, so I got a couple. Just watching, that's a success to me, is seeing them have smiles and hope again. Just hearing them talk about how safe and secure they feel, and that they're actually sleeping and gaining weight. They're like, wow. So, and I think another big success is when we have the chief of police now telling us that he's so proud of us and he's advocating for more. He wants us to move. He wants us to continue. He sees it's paid off. So that's a big success to us. We haven't got anybody housed yet. We've got a few in the works, but it's hard. It's just not there. We have now we're starting to put out, Lynette, one of our volunteers, is doing like personal interviews with people, and we're posting them on Facebook. The reason we're doing that, we're hoping somebody with an empty room will see the video and go, wow, I could live with that person. They could rent a room out in my house. That's what we're hoping. We're not expecting the city to build housing for us right away, although that's what they should be doing, but it'd be a lot better if they spent $4.9 million building housing instead of band-aiding it. And another thing the city does that I'm really an advocate against is they spend, in 2017, they spent $350,000 in the year sweeping camps, and that means throwing everybody's stuff away and moving them. Last year in 2018, they spent almost $500,000. This year, they're probably going to spend about $600,000. They would give us that money. We could build 100 tiny homes a year, and then they wouldn't have to sweep camps anymore.
Like they're spending money sweeping camps?
Oh yeah, it's a big business. And it used to be the sheriff's department and the police department did it. Now they contracted it out to a private organization. So so now companies are making money throwing homeless people's stuff away, and that just says, that's another thing I say. People ask me, why isn't homelessness solved? And I always say, because too many people are getting rich off the homeless, and it's a business. It's like the military-industrial complex. There's a homeless complex out there that is nothing about solving the problem. They want to keep it going, a matter of fact. They imagine if we solved it, then the mission isn't needed, and then the Opportunity Council isn't needed. So, you know, that's not their goal. Their goal isn't to solve homelessness. Their goal is to make a career out of it. This isn't a career for me. Our goal when we started Homes Now in June 2017 was to solve homelessness by the year 2020. We haven't stopped, we haven't wavered from that goal. That's still our goal. And it can be reached. It's just, this is the first step right here to prove everything we say that we could do, we can actually do it. So maybe they'll trust us and go, okay, here's a piece of land, do it. And not make us go through all the hoops and 20 cases of red tape or whatever they can find. They'll probably hire another staff person to figure out how to fight us harder. And you know, people say I shouldn't bash the city. I'm not bashing. When they do stuff right, I praise them. But when I see waste and they're not addressing the issue, they're not trying to solve it, they're trying to keep it going. Marilyn Bill, one of her biggest things is, I want to build a 200-bed shelter. To me, that's a train wreck going someplace to happen. A 200-bed wet shelter. That means you're going to have alcoholics and drunks. And that's insane. 200 people. We won't even go that big. We cap our camps at 30 people at the top. So that makes it a nice community. Once you get above 30, then you got 30 more personalities, and it becomes unmanageable. We want it small. We want small communities. These people were getting to know each other. Everybody in here, every day I see them getting closer and closer to each other. They're family now. So, housing. You know, I wish the mayor would stop getting off her kick. She wants to spend $4 million on a shelter. Well, spend $4 million on housing. How about that? Because shelters, all that is 12 hours. You go in at a certain time at night, and at 6:30 in the morning, you're back out on the street with all your stuff. Did that solve your problem? No, that made your problem just one more day.
One more question. It's 3:38, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, one more question, anybody?
You're saying you wanted to have different communities of like families where families could be and different types of communities.
Yeah.
How would that work out? Like, what would do you think? Imagine the secure like for families be?
It would be a little bit bigger for the single people. For the vets and the working and disabled tiny home village and the women's, they'd be 10 by 10 tiny homes with a community kitchen. And there's a big reason on community kitchens. And then for families, we'd probably try to go maybe 15 by 15 or 20 by 20. Still wouldn't put a kitchen or dining room in them. They'd still do a community. And the reason is before we started Homes Now, Doug my partner lent me about 10 grand, and I went to 20 different tiny home villages across America in tent cities. And I saw the ones that had kitchens in their tiny home villages. There was no community. It was like they became hermits. They just stayed in their tents or in their tiny homes, and they didn't come out. They didn't get to know each other. It was really cold feeling. But the ones that had community kitchen, one of the things when you're homeless is you forget how to socialize because everybody trashes you anyway, so you just try to stay to yourself. So with a community kitchen, I'm basically forcing them to become a community. They got to go in there to eat. They got to come out here to go to the bathroom. So there's a lot of interaction where if I gave them bathrooms inside their tiny homes and a kitchen, they wouldn't have to learn how to socialize again. And a lot of homeless people, they've been out there long enough, you can move them right in an apartment. They wouldn't know how to function. So it's a stepping stone back into being functional and learning how to be social and live in a society again. And besides that, if you were here at the beginning and you watch this community grow like I have, it's so awesome to see. This could be a city on its own. Winter Haven is a community. They're totally separate from the homeless community now. It's just an awesome feeling to watch them get closer and closer. And are there rifts and drama? Oh yeah. I woke up this morning to tons of drama, and I'm like, I hadn't even had my first cigarette or drank a Pepsi yet, and I got attacked, I felt like, and I'm like, this ain't happening no more. But it's just started building, everybody getting to know who everybody is. It's just awesome. I can't say enough. I mean, you go around and you start talking and you just observe. That's what I do. I sit here and I observe, and I kind of feel useless because all I do is observe, but I'm just watching it happen. And then I can nudge people a certain ways, make sure that, you know, you should go do this, you know, and then it forces them into a different situation. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty proud of this community. And I can say it's a community. They have their own governing body. I mean, to them, that's something when they say, wow, I'm actually in charge of my life again. Imagine somebody coming in and saying, oh yeah, you gotta go to bed at 5:30 in the morning, or you gotta get up at 5:30 in the morning, pack all your stuff, put it on your back and walk out that door. But you gotta be back here at 5 o'clock at night, and you can move all your stuff back in. But you gotta do that every day. Imagine how life would be. Or you're sleeping and then all of a sudden somebody knocks on your door and says, you got 2 hours to get out or we're throwing everything away. And then if you're not out in 2 hours, they throw everything away. Imagine them coming into your apartment or wherever you live right now and doing that. How violated would you feel? They do that to homeless people every day in this town. And I call it playing whack-a-mole with the homeless. We'll move them out of this camp, they'll move over to this camp, then we'll be over there and we'll move them. And they just move them around in circles, never solving the problem, and then bitching about, we're moving the homeless people every day. We need to do something. Well, here it is. Here's something. You don't need to come in here and clean it out. It's clean. You walk around this camp and it's cleaner than my house. So, yeah.
That's great, Jim. Well, I think that we've all gotten a good introduction. And can we get a class group picture with you before we break for the day?
Yep. As long as you do it in time.
Okay, we'll do it real quick.
He charges $9.95 for anybody.
No, my son, I got to pick him up at work. He would just kick my ass. He hates it when I'm late.
Jim, why don't you stay put?
Oh, okay.
Real quick, folks. You got it.
My son cusses me out when I'm late.
Does this have a pop-up flash?
Yeah, you have to hit the button on the side.
You guys are getting a little dark back there. There's a little lightning bolt there.
I think. Oh. The thing is, it's like thinking about when you do it.
Jim, do these heaters
It's
stay
not
on
letting
all
me.
night? Do they stay
No.
on all night?
We turn them off. The tanks only last 8 hours.
Focus it back there. It should, if it needs
Okay.
the light, it should
Okay.
pop open.
All right. Here you go. We'll use every icon we can get our hands on here. There you go. Got those back row beauties lit up. Here you go.
Everybody say, housed.
I see pictures of palm trees. I know that's a nice place, but that's.
You just press that.
Oh,
so
okay.
just
What mode it's on.
We're gonna have palm trees.
Look at that. Let me get one more.
I agree. What do you think?
There you go. The Magnificent 7 plus 1. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah.
We are off to a good start. There you go.
Sorry, I gotta run.
No problem. We all got to go. Life is like that.
Thanks for coming out, folks. You're welcome.
Okay, you guys can have your